Emma's Universe podcast.
Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here?
Emma's Universe podcast.
Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here?
Emma's Universe podcast.
Hello and welcome to Emma's podcast. In today's podcast, we're going to be talking about which topic are we going to pick, because I asked AI to give me some ideas of what to talk to. Let's talk about entrepreneurial resilience, because I think that, our life is so interesting. Let's get started. It's so interesting when you want to step outside of the hamster wheels and your ideas of creating your own business, which is absolutely wonderful. This is what will bring you to your own freedom. Really, I cannot even pronounce that word for today. Oh, this is awesome. Humulate. I am not going to even try. This is like, okay, but do not record on Friday all of your episodes, because this is what happens when you start with the first one for the week. You never know. When we emulate, here we go, I said it. Yay! Cocktail, everybody, cocktail. Doesn't matter if you drink or not, just a cocktail. When you emulate what you want to become, and you're starting to step outside of the comfort zone. Okay, Micah, even Micah agree with that. You need to have some resilience in the face of challenges, because where we are going, where we're evolving. Yes, Micah wants to talk. I should give him the mic and he can do the entire podcast in his own version. But looking at how resilient we're becoming when we're faced with our challenges. So from a young age to a teenage years to our 20s, where now it's you can do your business online very quickly. So this is one of the better things ever compared to the old days. And I know it sounds like, okay, grandma is talking, but from different generation, from Generation X, where we had to deal with the aftermath of parents from the wars, to really bring the creativity within us to just go for it. I talked about it in a previous podcast that if your entrepreneurial world is not made of it, so let's say you got your parent working in corporate and that's it, or blue collars or whatever they're doing, and they don't have that creativity that comes with becoming your own business owner, that makes it harder for people who want to break free of the path that have been happening with their family, with their parents, because they're guided to do something creative. They start starting their own business, do something off the beaten path or the path less traveled. During those time, we are going to be challenged at a lot of level to remove our old patterns, to be able to really emulate who we are becoming, the leaders of our own businesses or our own life, either way. Becoming maybe a writer, best-selling writers, or a podcasters, or fill out the blank. That resilience will come very handy when challenges come along, and you have to find a creative way to overcome those challenges, not ignoring them, but overcoming them. And there is different way to do this as well. So some people can or will be attracted to just sit down and hash it out on a piece of paper, or like I explained in the past, when I was in corporate, working in corporate, I was the problem solver, the quote unquote fixer, but I will call it more the person who closed the gap than the fixer. And I had issues coming up and I could not figure it out a solution or anybody else is around. So I will leave it up in the air because I remember what Einstein said. This is when you play the most and you can find solution or ideas, creative ideas. It's when your brain is relaxed and you're focusing on having fun. And I shared a story when every time I did yoga that I would be interrupted after 5, 10 minutes or 20 minutes of the middle of the routine of the yoga and running back into the computer or another, to just, oh God, I got the solution. I need to stop everything. Then I'm like, well, instead of doing this because I wanted to finish my yoga, it's like, hey, this is ridiculous. I'm in the middle of it. I would bring a notepad and a pen, and every time I would stop for a sec and pause the videos I was using, write it down, all excited, and would continue my yoga. So I kept that going, and I realized the more I use it, the easier answers come. But not a lot of people are practicing this. Resilience is not giving up. It's learning also to step back and look at where we are. Because sometimes we don't realize, and I have done that as well, that, well, I may hit the wall, but instead of going back and running again against the wall head first and banging myself over and over and over, I need to step back and be still. And when you do that, then you can see the path. You can see a solution or multiple solutions on the front of you. And you're like, okay, I can go that route. Let's try it. Let's be curious. Bringing the curiosity, the flexibility, because resilience, it's also, especially for entrepreneurs, is becoming flexible. I talk a lot about agile. And I love agile style. I never liked to be told what to do. That is something that never sat well with me. But I had to deal when I was in corporate and when I had a boss above me. I'm like, holy crap. What changed as somebody who has their own business and still a consulting person, because I still go through and work for companies as well, but in a different way. Meaning, they have a problem, I will come and help them, or I will close the gap on what we're working on projects, which is super nice, which is super cool, because they're not going to give me a, what do you call it, at the year end, their review. They're not going to, the politics is not there. This is what I love with the consulting world is there is no freaking politics, meaning I'm not going to kiss up your shoes just to get a raise at year end. I'm not going to play nice for you to be nice with me. I'm here to help you, and I'm going to help you the best of the knowledge that I have, and I'm going to be honest and truthful to what we have as issues, and ask for you to decide which way we're going. I will provide you the support. I will provide you the feedback. I will be your sounding board. But you're not going to treat me like an employee, meaning I'm not going to be scolded or, again, that review, that infamous review or whatever it is, or have tea and coffee with you to make you feel better. And, oh, my God, yeah, no, that is not how it works. And that's what I appreciated in the way where I am. But looking at the way to approach situations and the agile world give you a better sense of working together compared to the waterfall. Waterfall, you're gonna do this, and that. You don't deviate from the script. If you do, then we got a problem. But the agile is really bringing to life every pieces of the puzzle, involving everybody. Because in the past, if you're looking at how to build a company, how to make it happen, you always had that hierarchy. They're still there, which is fine, but it's always from the top. And the top maybe have a vision, but they don't know how to. And instead then letting people do the how to, or taking the right decision based on informed overview and information, they just go and, oh my God, I see a shiny object, so let's spend thousands and $100,000 on that, let us shiny object. Instead, then pick it up what they got and move it up to the next level. And I'm not even going to talk about CEOs coming into other company whipped out what the other one did before because, oh my God, I have an ego bigger than the universe. That is another story for another day. but take it and move it up to the next level, which means being able to collaborate with everybody. In a time of being a leader and an entrepreneur, yes, you have to get the kahunas to do that. There is some great decision you're going to make, and there's going to be some very hard decision you're going to make. And it's all about life lessons, what is best for the company, not for you personally, but for the baby you created it, in order for that baby to stand up, walk, and run. But it's also show the dedication, because remember, if your heart is not in to create something, and doesn't matter what it is. It could be even for a 7 years old kid doing their lemonade stands during the summer. If their hearts it's not into it, guess what? Their stands, they're going to be standing all day long with nobody. If their hearts are into it, they will attract the people to come and purchase their lemonade. This is the same way we're dealing with our businesses. This is the same way we're dealing with relationship. This is the same way we're dealing with a lot of things. Remember that you don't have to run a business to be an entrepreneur, because you could be the entrepreneur of your own life as well. That applies for both sides. And people don't realize that. Most of the time, they're like, oh my God, I wish to be. I am seeing people, and I have tell people, I said, if you got a problem, if you want me to bounce back, I can find anything you can do in 5 minutes. When you have people said, well, I don't know, I like to write, but I'm afraid that people are going to judge me, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, well, if you like to write like novel, like romance novel, well, why not doing it? Just use a different name. Use an alias to do it. Nobody asks you to plaster your face around it to start with. Go create your own website, create your blogs under an aliases with a fake picture or whatever, or you don't put a picture in there, and just create. You will be surprised when you start to do this how liberating it is. But a lot of people don't understand that. They're all afraid. They're like, oh my God, if people know I'm doing this, who gives a crap about the people? Seriously, follow what your heart desires. Do not give your powers away, telling everybody what you're going to do. Keep your mouth shut and just do it. I know, sounds rude, isn't it? But this is what you got to do. An entrepreneur is not going to tell you, unless he's a freaking idiot, and I'm going to use the word idiot, and claiming everything they do out and about. So somebody's going to pick up their idea, and they're going to be whining. I don't understand, somebody stole my idea. Well, if you keep your mouth shut and do it and deliver it, then you will not have that issue. In today's world, your ideas can be taken very quickly. If you do not, like, the universe will give people ideas. And the deal is the universe said, okay, if you don't act on it, somebody else will, because we're going to give it to somebody else who's going to deliver it. This is how it works. It's not a competition. It's you got given an opportunity, so use it. Okay? Don't announce what you're going to do ahead if it's not done. If you did not materialize that, don't advertise it around the blog. First of all, because people are going to talk you down. That always works this way. You're going to bring jealousy, and you're giving your powers away. Why would you give your powers away? So if you're inclined to create something and you're afraid that the reaction of your mate, of your family, one, don't discuss this with anyone who don't understand. Two, until it's materialized, keep your mouth shut and get things rolling. At the beginning, and I'm going to take Apple, because Apple is such a big story for me, and I related it, because then I admitted it a few times when I was younger over Europe. I had no freaking idea what Apple was, seriously. In the early 80s, it's like, yeah, I was like everybody else, follow the lamb, and yeah, we're mocking them because we had no idea what Apple was, and it was redirected to all of the designer, architect, that was for people to create designs on the MacBook to start with, on the Macintosh. And those programs, everybody was mocking. IBM was huge. Macro Puff Puff was coming out of the gates. Everybody was using IBM. Very few Apple. Look at what we got today. Look at where we are. Those guys never took no for an answer, and they got mocked around the way. They did not give a crap. They kept focusing on their dreams. They came up with ideas, pushing, bringing creativity. The quantum leap we have done since the 80s to the 90s is unbelievable. The 90s and the 2000, it's like, holy crap, the quantum leap we have done for technology. Without those guys, we'll still be with the dial phone, literally. There will be no internet. No. But that's the way it was. So we'll still be with the mainframe, communicating with each other for email. I like the mainframe because at least when you were communicating, you could delete those emails before people will see it, which was awesome. So you could recall it. Some you can right now recall it with Outlook, but it takes hours. Over there, just tick a button, delete. You're done. You could see your message gone. Nobody reading it. So think about being the entrepreneur, then you have a business or not. What are the challenges? What do you want to accomplish? What do you want to create? And sometimes, like I said, some decisions going to be hard to take because you're going to be faced with doubts. You're going to be faced with fears, lack of, or the illusion of lack of and fears, because you're going to bring everything to the surface. When you have a company and you are on your own, you don't have a paycheck like if you were working in corporate. You're like your own paycheck. So now the fear comes that how do I feed myself? How do I bring the income? How do I bring my clients? How do I fill out the blank? And all of this can come crashing down if you do not stand still. If you do not bring peace within yourself and said, you know what? Universe got my back. Let's get going. This is temporarily. I don't believe in this one. I believe into the abundance. I have a problem. Let's have a conversation with the universe. I do that all the time. I go and have a conversation with the universe. Oh, I need to look. Oh, I'm looking for this. Can I get your help, guys, for this and that? And then within an hour, I got something as an answer. It can come in a different way, as a person calling me or receiving an email or seeing something out there on the World Wide Web that's just like, holy crap, this is the solution and I need it. Thank you very much, universe. But you need to keep faith moving forward. Challenges helps us to grow. And there is some pretty dark one, like the dark night of the soul, which is not a fun one. But this helped us to shade, to cut off, to close everything that needs to close the doors to everything that needs to be done. And it can be at every level, from relationship to jobs to home to your entire life being put upside down because now you're going into the right direction. Going with the business, see it as the same with your life. So for people, like I said, for people who don't have a business, see your life as a business and how you run it. See the challenges and ask and search for answers. The answers will always come to you when you ask. Ask and you shall receive. That's one of the easiest things ever in the world. So look at it, look at your life, look at where you stand, and what can you do to improve from where you are, where you want it to be, and see yourself already there. Don't look at the how, because the how is not your problem. It's the universe problem. I always ask when I started, and again, what I'm saying right now, I'm repeating some of the stuff I've said in the past on my podcast in regards of businesses. When I started my business, I had the name for several years, EDG and Associate. That was the deal. I wanted to do EDG, and somebody said, well, you should do EDG and Associates. Sounds better. I'm like, okay, yeah, I like the name. And I was super excited. And the universe was excited too, except the universe had a fry pan waiting for me because I wasn't moving fast enough. Then they just smacked me behind the head. And trust me, that wasn't pretty. But it was time for me to step up. I named it. I dreamed it. I named it. I was like, universe said, okay, Emma, we're going to kick your ass because right now it's cute and nice. You're dancing 1 foot forward, 10 backwards. Like, we're done. We're tired with your dance. It's not Emma will come back. It's like, Emma, it's time. Took the big fried pan, smacked me behind the head and said, okay, it's time to do it. Oh, freaky was scary. Don't know where I'm going to go. Don't know what I'm going to do. I'm like, holy crapola. I'm starting to freak out. and so many things I wanted to cover, so many things I have done actually, then I put on paper on the little groceries list, and I did was like, holy crap, start your podcast. Like I explained that in the middle of the winter in my kitchen, some wind that came up and moved my that little groceries list, and there were no wind because it would be winter time. So trust me, the windows were not open. Looked at it, the first thing I saw is start a podcast. Okay, turn off the stove and think I'm gonna go in my computer, search how to start a podcast. You know what? In less than a minute, I had a free software, Audacity, which you guys can have it for free because you can download it for free. Audacity is free. I looked at for microphone. I did several things for the microphone actually because I got several microphone, and I have the one I have is a 15. I like 15, but I got that. I learned how to do the podcast because nobody taught me how to do a podcast. So imagine for the first, you can go back to the first few episodes and it's like, okay, I got my intro music, I got my exit music. But in between, you can hear where, because I don't know if I think it was the microphone at the beginning. I'm assuming. Let's blame the microphone on this one. May as well blame the microphone. This is what I love. But I was stopping. Instead of let it run. See, here's the deal. You do not cut. You do not stop. When you do, and that's advice on my side after 800 plus 50 episodes that I have done so far in my podcast. So telling you how dedicated I am with my podcast. At the beginning, I would stop and I will restart the recording and I will stop again and I will restart. Waste of time. Change of tone of voice because somehow the microphone wasn't picking it up properly, so it wasn't smooth. Like, oh, she's too high pitched, she's too slow. It's like it was weird until the universe suddenly told me in my head one day, it's like, keep it running. Doesn't matter if you do and you get a blank and you don't know what to talk about and you start to laugh. It's like continue running, let it run. Don't stop the recording. Then I used to go back, listen to it, edit, remove the and the laughing and like holy crap and whatever. Then I started to become bigger and better at what I was doing. But at the beginning, I had no freaking clue. But the podcast was on my list. So I learned. You know, I had my the blog, and I always said I wanted to, funny enough, talking about the blogs, I do my blogs come 3 times. It used to be 3 times, and I moved it to 7 days a week, and then I moved down to 3 times because it's a little bit better to do it 3 times a week for me. And did it that. See, I have an awe in this one too. Now I'm gonna go every 5 minutes. It's gonna be awesome. I'm not gonna cut it, by the way, because now I leave things in there because I like it raw. Meaning I like the full productions. Looks awesome. It's great to listen, but I think being more authentic and raw is better for me. It's more who I am than anything else. So I'm leaving it there. And you hear me sometimes when I say that, I say I'm leaving this as something happened, the dogs are barking or something happened. Like I'm leaving it there. I'm not cutting it. I could, but I'm not. But looking at the blog, I had no freaking idea what to do with my blog. I had no idea what I would write about, but when I sat on the front of this, I'm not a writer. I'm like, what the freak do you want me to talk about, universe? Because I have no idea. And I used to have many summary, light up a candle, dance around, just to relax. Did the same actually with the podcast. Now I just sit down and start to write. Now I just put the microphone on and it's like, what am I going to do? I ask AI, I say, what should we talk about as, and it gave me several. One of them is entrepreneurial resilience. So how can you, in the middle of a challenge, face and how you overcome it? By doing it. By, again, same with, and see where it's going. Because for the podcast, the adventure of the podcast is I did it by myself to start with. And you can hear it for, I don't know, 600 episodes at least. I don't remember when I started to do collaboration. I think it's 600 episodes later. Then I started to do collaboration. I had people coming on my podcast. I was interviewing them. So there was another form of communication and how to improve your communication as well. I use my podcast as a form of communication and how to improve myself on how do I talk. I can talk very fast like I'm doing right now, or I can talk very slowly like when I'm doing the meditation, because now I'm releasing meditations on my YouTube channel, by the way, guys. So yeah, I created another YouTube channel just for self-care, and another great idea of the universe actually. So why not? If the universe gives me idea, I will go for it. But it was very interesting when at the beginning I looked at the blogs because I'm not a freaking writer. What the freak do you want me to talk about? Well, let's talk about spirituality. Let's talk about the universe. Let's talk about you. Share stories. One of them was a loss, and the loss I had wasn't a human loss. It was my biggest loss ever was one of my cat who passed away at the age of 20, and for me was my freaking rock. That cat was it was awesome. He was like a lion. If you hear a lion roaring, that cat had the pipe of a freaking lion. And he was, what, 7-pound cat? It was a Persian, but holy crap, he could roar like a lion, literally. But looking at the blogs, I was interested to say, why not, write bright idea might come up. Just watch out your ideas, by the way. I'm going to say that to you because the universe just wait in a corner for you. And for the blog, my idea was, I'm like, it would be nice to write in magazines. I would love to do that. And because I was on Twitter, now X, I was communicating with somebody who actually had publishing magazine for charity and write a piece. So I was able to give some of, for a year, give her some of my writing. I was writing for that as well, which was awesome. Then came the book collaboration too. And again, who would have known I would be publishing a book? I had no idea. When I started my blogs, I was laughing because I got told when I was younger, and I'm not, it's just, I'm explaining this story as an observer, not somebody who, I don't have any feeling about that situation because the past is the past and I close the doors. But I've been told that I write like I speak, which is funny because yes and no. It depends how I'm writing. There is this, I will write like I speak, yes, if I feel like it, but generally, no, it's pretty much concise. But I've been told I suck at it. I suck at at it. Well, the suck at it got published in 2 books, and I did magazines, and I have my blogs. So it's very interesting when you look at the evolution of what you're capable to do and go with the curiosity. I never imagined that I would have been published in books at all. So I can put I'm an author, la-di-da. Point for Emma right there. But it's funny, the same with, and that's what I said, ask and you shall receive. Be careful what you're asking for because that will be served to you very quickly. My podcast. So let's go back to the podcast. I started on my own with my microphone, nobody to interview, and not a lot of people can do that. Generally, you find a partner where you can partner with somebody and you talk as a duo because it's easier. I went what they call it the hardest way because people were like, holy crap, you did it what? I said, yeah, I have hundreds of episodes where I talk by myself. I said, I don't need to, just give me the microphone. I'm going to show you how it's done. Kidding. But did it by myself until I came to a collaboration and I started to interview people and I liked it. And I'm glad I did it by myself first, actually. I love the fact that I did it by myself in the universe. So it's not only by myself, but with the words of the universe, because every time I'm channeling the universe, every time I talk. So, but it was very interesting to be able to interview people. And people never had a script, and I don't give script. I just go with the flow in the conversation. The key is I don't meet you before, so we don't talk before, and we're just gonna do that episodes. So I've done that on and off. Then I decided to do a collaboration. So I went on LinkedIn and asked several business owners because I saw the need to do that series, which is on my podcast. You should double check. If you are interested to do leadership, and even if you're a leader of some kind, go back and check it out, those episodes, because there is something out there for anyone. But I wanted people to understand, how did they get it started? How did you start your business? What inspired you? So some people was generational, passed down from father to son or father to daughter, either way. But father to son, their business down. Or some, they decide to be creative. and you listen to them just to get that inspiration. Because for me, we're all entrepreneurs in our own life. It doesn't matter if your parents are not entrepreneurs, don't have their own business. We all are. And one of the biggest things I always felt for me when I grew up, when I was a kid, is I never felt where I was the right place. I never felt the circumstances of being poor, having a lack of a lot of things, struggling, only counting on ourselves, where the life I was supposed to be living, actually. And I know it wasn't, but unfortunately with my contract, I had to fulfill a karmic contract, which I did. Thank for the universe. So I'm good with that. But I had to start very far, like a lot of people do, with a lot of challenges. And one of them is your outer conditions. How can you get to your dreams knowing you don't belong where you are and lingering for something you know you can do better or you are called upon to do? And that took a long journey, took a 5 decades journey to get where I was to where I am today. But looking back at all of this, there was a lot of learning that I've been utilizing. There were a lot of things that I learned along the way, utilizing in my daily life, in my business, that was essential to where I am today. In learning to communicate was one thing. So with the podcast is how to articulate yourself, not try to talk too fast. I'm pretty sure I'm talking fast today for some unknown reason, but this is what it is. And realizing that through the interviews, it's how to connect with people for 2 hours, hour and a half to 2 hours. This is about what I take for interviews with people. And people don't realize, because like 2 hours, I don't know what I'm going to talk about it. And guess what? Come into my bubble. Within 2 hours, we're going to say, oh, we're up right now already. I'm like, yes, we're done today. Oh my God, that passed so fast. I say, exactly. It was to be moving from the podcast to the contribution, to be a contributors. And mostly it's me inviting guests to ask the universe back again. It was July of a couple of years ago when I had the bright idea while I was putting my connecting my podcast to iHeartRadio podcast. Got the bright idea to say to him, oh, it would be cool if I could, if I had my own syndicated show like on iHeart where you could talk to people. Okay, that was a great idea. And I explained the story before in previous podcasts. Well, ask and you shall receive. 2 weeks later, I got the concierge for who it is, Wisdom app. Holy crap, Wisdom app. And they were asking me if I wanted to be part of the beta because they listen to my podcast. They love what I'm doing, blah, blah, blah. I thought it was a joke at the beginning, and it wasn't a joke. And I said, okay. Well, they were supposed to get in August. The app, I never got it in August, never September. October showed up. I didn't realize the beta I was in was just actually a week before the full launch. 2, I didn't realize it was live. And when I said live, it's live. It's no stopping, no rewinding, no cutting, nothing. So I'm going into the app and I'm like, okay, I'm going to be talking about something. I already had like I wanted to do because I redid a little bit of the repeat of my beginning of the podcast. If you listen to my first 100 or 200 episodes, if it's not more, you will hear me reading first my blog and then go off the blog and have the universe speaking. Now I just go directly and I don't even have anything except, again, a little idea of what to do, a title, and I go for it. But I had my little piece of paper. I got everything. Click on it. I'm like, oh, there is a mic here. And all of a sudden, I'm realizing that it was live. And I'm like, oh, no F or FML. And I'm like, no way. I started to burst in laugh for 15, 20 minutes. Like, universe, you have a great sense of humor. Now I had 2 choices. One, I was going back live and do it, or I would not. And it was scary because you realize this is where you take things seriously and realize that, okay, this is not a podcast. This is a live stream. Okay? You are responsible for your words. You cannot have a meltdown. You're not going to go off the deep end and make a fool of yourself. And if you're not feeling good and you're not in a good mood, you do not talk, you do not go live. Those were my 3 rules at that moment because I wanted to ensure that my content and who I am was authentic, not somebody who will go fly, from the left field all of a sudden and be psychotic. This is not who I am. But it was very interesting because I wanted to be respectful of what I was about to do. So when we launched, well, luckily I had Sammy. Sammy was, and still, I don't know, I have to connect with him and see, because we started a show called The C Show, which is a Sammy and Emma show. That's why we call it The C Show. And we had fun between the two of us, talking, laughing. But it was good because when I started to talk solo as well for a month and a half, a lot of people were listening to me. Nobody went on stage because with wisdom, I don't know if they do too now, but you had one person that could, hop in and communicate with you. So a lot of listeners, but nobody talking. So that, again, was kind of interesting. But I continue to talk. I continue to say everything I wanted to say. I'm maybe going to go tonight on wisdom just for the heck of it, now that I'm thinking about it. And it was very interesting. It was pretty cool to do that. I really appreciated all of it. And then the most interesting part of it was people were starting to come and talk live with me. Now, realize you don't know who they are. So it was like a live talk show, like I was talking about, except the idea I had, the universe decided to transfer it to something else for me to continue to learn as an incubator. For me, Wisdom app is one of the best apps. It's free. You should go online over there. If you need to learn how to talk, to communicate, that will be your incubator to do that. This to me is the container to do it. It is a safe place and it helps you to learn to communicate. I was going, after a few months, when I was going to the grocery store, I was just having conversation with people. I had no idea who they were. Communicated, shooting the breeze, leaving, and started to laugh, going back to my car. I'm like, holy crap, Emma, you can just talk to anyone, anywhere. That's awesome. This is communication. So learning to deal with the audience and the people you're talking to that you might or might not agree with them when they're talking to you. That was another great lesson as well, and a challenge. But communication helped me. This helped me to continue the communication, because one of the biggest issue we've got, and it's still happening everywhere, not only in corporate world or in business, but personal, is communication. Learning to communicate our words so the other person understand. That to me was extremely helpful. Then to go to the next level, I end up in a fireplace. What is fire? I don't remember the name of it. I removed myself on LinkedIn from it. And I still fireside, not fireplace, but fireside. Yeah, fireplace. Yeah, fireside. I think it is. It's Mark Cuban app where I had access, so you could do live. Very interesting. But also your face was on, meaning it's not wisdom. You're behind your microphone. You don't have your face showing. Fireside, you do. So it was very interesting to see the evolution of where I'm at. And I really appreciated that, because it really taught me a lot on the communication, on be comfortable to talk to people, especially the people who you do not agree with. And instead of being mad, learning and listening what they're saying. Like I always said, we don't have to agree. We can agree to disagree in a matter that we're respecting each other without dropping all of the insult and the threats. I am entitled of my own opinion. I am entitled of my freedom of speech. So do you. The problem I see on that, maybe I should do a podcast, is more and more people want to stop us to express that opinion. But that's a different topic for another day. So see the evolution of being shy, being behind a microphone. I do talk to people who are one-on-one, or I do speak in the front of a room where I can talk very comfortably with them. Look at the challenges you're facing and see how you can resolve it. But this is an example you can superpose on your trajectory and where you are in your life. But realize that we are resilient in the midst of challenges. Those challenges helps us to grow. It helps us to remove what is not necessary from pattern or habits. It opens us up. So this was our podcast for today. What do you wanted to say? I have no idea. This is what is so awesome. I'm like, I got myself in the flow. I'm like, okay, because I'm looking at the time. I'm like, oh boy, we're close to 40 minutes talking today. I could talk for hours, but we're not going to do that with this podcast. Let's keep it light. But I just wanted to share the stories for you, really showing you that in the midst of everything, we can do so much more with ourselves when we are really open to really see how resilient we are in our life and what our life is all about. So, but I don't know what we're going to be talking on our next podcast. I am, and I'm going to put it somewhere for my podcast. If you're looking at my podcast, because I got two actually YouTube channel, not my podcast. So one of them is Emma DJ, which is at EDJ and Associates. If you run this, you will see both of them, because one, it's about self-care, which I'm mixing here. When I'm talking business, it's also self-care, because a lot of people don't understand you. Taking care of yourself is taking care of your business as well. And that's so essential for all of us when we are doing this. And the other one, it's all about business, how to run a successful business as well. And I got some of my video podcasts and I have done with quite a great people as well, plus my regular podcast, because it goes in there. And I will have more videos, because I'm going to do more. I'm going to put myself on the front of the camera, believe it or not, and do that. So there is more to come. There is also my, for entrepreneurs, my courses. I have a courses and I have an audiobook for beginners who wants to become entrepreneurs, or people who are entrepreneurs and maybe lost a little bit of their compass in there where they are and need a little bit grounding. So I got that as well. So if you need that, you can look on LinkedIn. I have a link into it, or you can go on YouTube as well. You can find me everywhere, or you can go onto my website. So, well, it was nice talking to you, and I have no idea what we're going to be talking on the next podcast, but it's going to be interesting. All my love, guys, and I will talk to you later. Bye now.
Where do we go from here?
Emma's Universe Podcast.
Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here?
Emma's Universe Podcast.